My beloved, if these words have found you, pause for a moment and breathe, because this is not random scrolling, not coincidence, not background noise in an already crowded day. This is a divine interruption wrapped in tenderness. God speaks not with thunder that startles, but with a steady voice that reaches through the fog you have been quietly carrying. He is not shouting to frighten you. He is leaning close to awaken you. There are movements unfolding in the spiritual realm that your natural eyes cannot detect, currents shifting beneath the surface of your circumstances, alignments forming that will shape the next chapter of your life. You're not being pulled into danger, you're being pulled into responsibility. A subtle pressure has been building around you, not to crush you, but to test the strength of your inner foundation. If you have felt unusually reflective, slightly restless, more sensitive than usual, it is not weakness, it is awakening. This is the sign that your season is shifting and you cannot afford to remain spiritually drowsy. Stay with this message until the end because it carries strategy for where you're headed. And if you sense this word is for you, type Amen as a declaration that you are ready to awaken, ready to discern, ready to step into what God is preparing. Do not treat this as information. Treat it as instruction. Something in your spirit already knows this moment matters. As this awakening begins, you must understand how the subtle currents that shift your path operate beneath the surface of ordinary life. Rarely does a life change direction through one dramatic mistake. More often it bends slowly, almost politely through small, seemingly harmless choices repeated over time. A few degrees off today feels insignificant, but a few degrees sustained for months can lead you miles from where you are meant to stand. The greatest falls do not usually begin with storms that announce themselves loudly. They begin with quiet waters left unchallenged, gentle drifts that feel comfortable enough to ignore. Think about the small compromises you label as temporary, the habits you excuse because they do not look destructive, the conversations you entertain even when they leave your spirit slightly unsettled. These are the subtle streams flowing beneath your feet. Emotional disturbances and restless thoughts are not random annoyances, they're signals. When your peace is disturbed more easily, when minor situations provoke disproportionate emotions, it is not always because you're becoming fragile. It may be because God is highlighting unanchored areas that need reinforcement. Illumination is not accusation. Exposure is not rejection. Refinement is not destruction. When gold is placed in fire, it is not because it is worthless. It is because it carries value worth purifying. In the same way, the unsettled places in your heart are being revealed so they can be fortified. God is not tearing you down. He is strengthening your foundation before elevation. Pressure reveals what is anchored and what is loosely attached. And in this season, He loves you too much to allow hidden weaknesses to remain unaddressed. You may feel stretched, examined, made aware of patterns you once ignored. But awareness is protection. Awareness is the mercy that prevents a greater fall. The quiet currents are not meant to carry you away if you choose to pay attention. They're invitations to adjust your stance, to recenter your heart, to anchor yourself more deeply in truth before the winds grow stronger. This is refinement, not destruction. This is strengthening, not shaming. You're not being exposed to embarrass you. You're being illuminated to secure you. And as you grow more aware of these subtle shifts, you must also recognize how temptation in disguise operates with dangerous subtlety, because in this season it will not approach you wearing obvious darkness. It will look reasonable. It will feel comfortable. It will present itself as a small relief, a harmless indulgence, a logical next step. It will whisper, just a little compromise, just a little delay, just a little distraction. And because it does not look catastrophic, you will be tempted to underestimate it. Doors may open that seem favorable on the surface, but lack the quiet anchor of God's peace. Invitations may appear aligned with your goals, yet carry no spiritual confirmation within your soul. Not every open door is divine timing. Not every opportunity is heaven's assignment. Some are simply tests of discernment. The danger is not always in what is obviously wrong. The danger is in what is subtly misaligned. When something is from God, it anchors peace even if it stretches you. When something is not from Him, it may excite you, flatter you, even soothe you temporarily, but beneath that surface there will be a slight disturbance, a rhythm that feels one beat off. That subtle misalignment is the compass you must learn to trust. Discernment is needed more than enthusiasm. Enthusiasm reacts quickly. Discernment pauses. Enthusiasm chases what looks promising. Discernment waits for confirmation in the spirit. In this season, you cannot afford to move solely by logic or emotion. You must move by inner witness. The enemy does not always destroy with something dramatic at first. It begins with something small but consistent, something that shifts your focus just enough to dull your spiritual sharpness. A message that steals your attention at the wrong time. A resurfaced memory that softens your resolve. A compliment that feeds an old insecurity. None of these are evil in themselves, but repeated without discernment, they can redirect your energy away from discipline and alignment. This is why you must not underestimate smallness. The smallest hinge can swing the largest door. The smallest habit can shape the direction of an entire year. God is not calling you to paranoia. He is calling you to awareness, not to tension, but to attentiveness. Not to fear, but to wisdom. You're stepping into new territory, and new territory tests those about to be elevated. That is why discernment must become stronger than impulse, and peace must become more authoritative than excitement. You're not being restricted, you're being prepared, and preparation always feels more intense before promotion. Stay awake, stay sensitive, stay anchored. The sign has been given and you are being trained to recognize what others overlook. And as this awakening deepens within you, you must now understand that awakening to spiritual awareness is not about becoming afraid of making mistakes, but about gaining clarity of voice within the noise that surrounds you. Awakening is not paranoia, it is precision. It is not walking on eggshells, terrified of error. It is walking with attentiveness, aware of the subtle differences between your emotions and God's breath moving through your spirit. Many people confuse spiritual maturity with constant intensity, but true awareness feels steady, grounded, quietly alert. It is learning to recognize the tone of God's guidance, even when your emotions are loud. Emotional noise can be persuasive. It can sound urgent, convincing, dramatic. But God's voice carries something different. It carries weight without pressure. It carries clarity without chaos. It carries correction without condemnation. When you awaken spiritually, you begin to sense the difference between what agitates you and what anchors you. A slight disturbance in your spirit is not random. It is a holy signal. When something appears attractive but leaves you unsettled, that disturbance is not weakness, it is protection. When a conversation sounds pleasant yet leaves a subtle heaviness in your chest that is not overthinking, it is discernment awakening. Discernment is not loud, it does not scream, it often whispers. And because it whispers, it requires you to slow down enough to hear it. Over time, discernment becomes an inner compass, recalibrating you gently before you drift too far. It does not only warn you of danger, it redirects you toward alignment. Protection in this season will not come through anxiety or hypervigilance. It will come through sensitivity, sensitivity to peace, sensitivity to rhythm, sensitivity to the slight shifts in your inner climate. Anxiety exhausts, sensitivity strengthens. Anxiety reacts quickly, sensitivity observes and responds wisely. The more spiritually aware you become, the fewer long detours you will take. You may still encounter obstacles, but you will not wander aimlessly through seasons that were never meant to last. Spiritual awareness shortens recovery time. It accelerates realignment. It keeps you from investing years in what was only meant to teach you for a moment. This is not about perfection. It is about perception. It is about living awake enough to recognize when something is off before it becomes destructive. And as you grow in this awareness, you begin to understand that awakening without discipline leaves gaps in your armor, which is why discipline must now be understood not as restriction, but as protection. Discipline is not a cage. It is armor carefully fitted to guard what is precious within you. In this season, emotional impulsiveness can easily mislead. When you're stepping into elevation, your emotions may become more sensitive, more reactive to subtle stimuli. A compliment may inflate you. A criticism may wound you deeper than before. A delay may tempt you toward frustration. If you allow emotion to lead unchecked, you will move inconsistently. Discipline steadies you when emotion fluctuates. Discipline in your words prevents you from speaking out of irritation. Discipline in your thoughts prevents you from rehearsing fear. Discipline in your habits prevents you from slipping into patterns that weaken your spirit. Discipline in your relationships prevents others from shaping your direction unconsciously. You're not called to rigidity. You're called to boundaries. Boundaries do not limit freedom. They protect harvest. A farmer does not fence his field to imprison his crops. He fences it to prevent destruction. In the same way, boundaries around your time, your attention, your inner space, and your energy are not signs of fear. They are signs of stewardship. Slowing down by one breath before responding to a message, before accepting an invitation, before making a decision, can prevent an entire season of unnecessary repair. One breath slower can mean 1 year saved. Peace becomes the measuring instrument for divine alignment. If something robs your peace consistently, it is not aligned. If something strengthens your peace even while stretching you, it is often from God. Discipline allows you to measure your inner temperature honestly. It teaches you to stop when something begins to feel off, rather than pushing forward out of pride or impatience. You must learn the skill of stopping at the right moment. Not every open door is yours to walk through. Not every opportunity is assigned to you. Some doors open simply to test whether you can discern timing, and in that discernment you must now understand the importance of guarding the gates of your soul, because not every voice deserves influence in your life. The ear is the gate of the soul. What you consistently allow yourself to hear will shape your perception, and perception shapes direction. Some words soothe you temporarily but slowly mislead you away from alignment. Some words challenge you uncomfortably but anchor you more deeply in truth. You must develop the courage to filter. Not everyone who speaks confidently speaks wisely. Not everyone who encourages you is aligned with your destiny. Some advice will make you feel lighter but drift you further. Some correction will make you feel uncomfortable but position you rightly. You're responsible for who has access to your inner world. Peace must be kept as a spiritual weapon. Peace is not passive, it is powerful. When you maintain peace, the chaos around you loses authority. When you lose peace, you begin chasing solutions that were never meant for you. Each morning, before rushing into your responsibilities, you must check the temperature of peace within your soul. If peace feels low, do not ignore it. Return to alignment before engaging the day. Morning alignment sets the trajectory of your hours. When you begin, centered interruptions do not destabilize you easily. When you begin rushed and scattered, small inconveniences feel overwhelming. Whoever you allow into your ear influences your orbit. Therefore, guard it. Some people may walk beside you. Some may only touch your journey briefly. Some you must love from a distance. This is not cruelty, it is maturity. When peace is lost consistently in a relationship, conversation, or environment, it is often a sign you are drifting from center, and drifting, if left uncorrected, eventually leads to shaking. Yet you must understand that shaking that comes in this season is not meant to destroy you but to certify you. Not every shaking is destruction. Some shakings are certifications. A bridge is tested before it carries weight. A building is stress tested before occupancy. In the same way, your life is tested before promotion. Shaking exposes false foundations and reinforces true ones. If something collapses under pressure, it was not strong enough to support your next season. If something endures, it is strengthened. Tests validate calling. Pressure builds endurance. Without resistance, no expansion. Without weight, no muscle. You're not being shaken because you're weak. You're being shaken so that hidden weaknesses are replaced with resilience. Some relationships may tremble, some habits may fall away, some illusions may dissolve, but what remains will be solid. God does not stand far away during this process. He stands beside you in training. He goes ahead to prepare the path. He steadies you when the ground feels unstable. He guards what you cannot see. Training is not abandonment, it is partnership. You are being prepared for influence, not comfort. Influence requires steadiness. Influence requires clarity under pressure. Influence requires endurance. When you can stand firm in shaking without losing direction, you become someone others can lean on. Your maturity will become shelter for others. Your stability will become guidance for those still learning to walk. And as the shaking subsides, you'll look back and realize that what felt like disruption was actually construction. What felt like loss was reinforcement. What felt like pressure was expansion. You're not being dismantled, you're being fortified. You're not being reduced, you're being refined. And every layer of awareness, discipline, filtering, and endurance being built within you is positioning you to carry a weight of light that could not have rested on yesterday's foundation. Stay steady, stay sensitive, stay aligned. The training is proof that promotion is near, and you are being shaped to carry it well. And as the shaking strengthens you and the discipline steadies you, you now find yourself standing at the threshold of something deeper. Because stepping into maturity beyond survival is no longer optional. It is necessary for the weight of what is coming. There was a season when surviving was enough, when simply making it through the day felt like victory, when holding on without collapsing was proof of resilience. But that season is closing. This is a call to live with stature, not reaction. Reaction is defensive. Stature is intentional. Reaction waits for life to happen and then scrambles to respond. Stature shapes life before it unfolds. You're no longer being trained merely to withstand storms. You're being trained to build in clear weather. Old habits cannot carry new glory. The patterns that helped you cope in past seasons will not sustain you where you are going. The habit of procrastinating alignment, the habit of delaying difficult conversations, the habit of numbing your mind with noise when silence feels uncomfortable. These may have seemed small, even harmless, but new glory requires stronger structure. Maturity is intentional building. It is choosing daily what kind of foundation you are laying, even when no one sees the construction. It is reordering priorities so that what feeds your spirit comes before what drains it. It is renewing disciplines not because you're trying to impress heaven, but because you're preparing to carry weight. Protecting your inner space from unnecessary drains becomes a sacred responsibility. Every conversation you entertain, every thought you rehearse, every distraction you indulge, either strengthens or weakens your interior world. You must become protective, not out of fear, but out of awareness. Vision sustains what wishes cannot. Wishes are emotional sparks. Vision is a steady flame. Wishes excite you for a moment. Vision carries you through resistance. If you live by wishes, you will start strong and fade quickly. If you live by vision, you will endure through seasons of obscurity without losing direction. Weak points must be fortified strategically. Maturity does not pretend weakness does not exist. It studies it. It stations guards at it. It builds systems that prevent relapse rather than reacting to failure afterward. When are you most vulnerable? When are you most likely to drift? When do you become easily discouraged? These are not areas of shame, they are areas of strategy. A mature builder reinforces the weakest beams first. And as you step into this posture of intentional building, you begin to understand that true maturity requires the stewardship of emotion and endurance, not the elimination of feeling, but its wise management. Maturity is not the absence of emotion, it is the governance of emotion. You will still have days of fatigue. You will still encounter moments of doubt. You will still feel waves of discouragement or frustration. But these feelings are no longer permitted to determine your direction. Emotion informs you, but it does not lead you. Fatigue may whisper that you should give up, but vision answers back. Doubt may suggest retreat, but conviction anchors you. Alignment recovery becomes faster because maturity teaches you how to return quickly. There was a time when drifting could last weeks or months before you recognized it. Now it lasts hours. You notice sooner, you adjust sooner, you pray sooner. That speed of recovery is growth. Small compromises feed old cycles. The smallest just this once can awaken patterns you worked hard to quiet. Sensitivity becomes more important than perfection. Perfection demands flawless performance. Sensitivity requires quick correction. True strength does not come from bracing against pressure. It comes from resting in the Father. Rest is not laziness, it is alignment. When you rest in Him, you stop striving to prove yourself and begin moving from identity instead of insecurity. Rhythm stabilizes the soul, the rhythm of waking with intention, the rhythm of pausing before speaking, the rhythm of ending the day with reflection instead of distraction. When rhythm is established, your inner life becomes steady. Without rhythm, your soul fluctuates wildly based on circumstances. Endurance grows quietly. It does not always feel dramatic. It feels consistent. It is the ability to continue even when enthusiasm fades. It is the decision to remain faithful even when results are unseen. Endurance is the signature of those who belong deeply to purpose. And as your endurance deepens and your emotional stewardship strengthens, you begin to notice something profound, that recognizing God in the ordinary becomes easier and more natural. Divine presence is not reserved for dramatic breakthroughs or mountaintop revelations. It is woven into daily moments, into the quiet morning light through your window, into the stillness between tasks, into the subtle peace that settles over you unexpectedly. Small sacred openings are invitations to breathe. They are reminders that you're not alone in the ordinary. You do not have to wait for extraordinary signs to confirm divine direction. Sometimes guidance arrives as a quiet clarity while washing dishes. Sometimes it comes as a gentle conviction in the middle of a routine conversation. Sometimes it appears as a sudden idea that carries peace instead of pressure. When you mature, you stop searching for noise and start noticing whispers. Relationships must be discerned wisely in this awareness. Some people are assignments, some are lessons, some are seasonal, some are permanent. Maturity allows you to love without entanglement. Some must be loved from a distance, not out of resentment, but out of wisdom. Proximity is influence, and influence shapes direction. Your work must shift from effort to vision. Effort alone exhausts, vision energizes. When you see your work as an extension of divine purpose, even small tasks carry meaning. Faithfulness matters more than visible success. Success is often measured by applause. Faithfulness is measured by consistency in secret. Heaven celebrates what the world overlooks. And as you grow attentive to these daily rhythms, you begin to notice small rays of guidance that once escaped your awareness. A fleeting thought that aligns perfectly with what you prayed about. a gentle hesitation before making a decision that saves you from regret, a word spoken by someone that confirms what your spirit already sensed. These are not coincidences. They are threads of direction woven into the fabric of your day. The mature recognize them. The distracted miss them. You're being trained to see light in small places, to hear clarity in quiet spaces, to sense alignment in ordinary hours. This is how legacy is built, not through dramatic moments alone, but through hundreds of faithful responses to subtle guidance. And as you respond faithfully again and again, your life begins to carry a quiet authority. You no longer move reactively, you move intentionally. You no longer chase noise, you follow peace. You no longer fear emotion, you steward it. You no longer overlook the ordinary, you recognize divinity within it. This is maturity, this is growth. This is the posture of someone being prepared not merely to survive, but to influence, not merely to endure, but to build, not merely to exist, but to leave a mark shaped by discipline, awareness, endurance, and faithful attention to the smallest lights placed along your path. And now, as everything you have walked through begins to align into focus, you must understand that you are being upgraded for legacy, not merely sustained for survival. There was a time when your prayers were centered on making it through the storm, holding yourself together, asking for just enough strength to endure the day. But something has shifted. You're no longer merely surviving, you're becoming steadier, becoming clearer, becoming someone who carries weight differently. Growth has already taken place within you, even if you have not fully recognized it. The reactions that once controlled you now pass more quickly. The doubts that once paralyzed you now meet resistance. The distractions that once consumed hours now lose their grip sooner. Your peace is stronger. It does not evaporate at the first sign of pressure. Your discernment is sharper. It detects misalignment before damage occurs. You can now stand in shaking without losing clarity because the shaking no longer defines you. It refines you. You've learned how to remain anchored while things around you tremble. That stability is not accidental. It has been cultivated through countless quiet decisions to return to realign, to remain sensitive. And this maturity forming within you is not only for your own benefit, it is for those who will lean on you. There are people whose stability will one day depend on your steadiness. There are souls who will borrow courage from your clarity. There are generations that will inherit the discipline you establish now. This season is about practical layers of growth, not dramatic spectacle. It is about strengthening daily rhythms, refining your thought patterns, stabilizing your emotional responses, clarifying your vision. Layer by layer, you are being refined, reset, and lifted. Refined so that impurities do not travel into your next assignment. Reset so that old definitions no longer limit you. Lifted so that your perspective expands beyond the narrow lens of past survival. Legacy is not built in a single moment of brilliance. It is built in thousands of faithful responses to guidance. The legacy you build will flow through generations, not because of fame or recognition, but because of alignment. The patience you cultivate will echo in your children. The boundaries you establish will shape those who observe you. The peace you guard will create atmospheres of safety for others. You're being upgraded so that what flows through you is clean, steady, and enduring. And as this upgrade settles within you, you must receive the conclusion not as a closing statement, but as confirmation that this is the sign and you are called to walk as one who is upgraded. You're not getting lost. You're going deeper, deeper into identity, deeper into purpose, deeper into a rhythm that cannot be easily shaken. This season is not for survival, it is for transformation. Survival teaches you to endure, transformation teaches you to build. God is building your future intentionally, not randomly. Every lesson, every pause, every redirection has been calculated with wisdom beyond your sight. You are being shaped into someone he can trust and assign. Trust requires steadiness. Assignment requires clarity. Awakening led you to awareness. Awareness demanded discipline. Discipline matured your responses, and maturity now positions you for legacy. This is the progression unfolding within you. You are chosen not for comfort but for influence. Chosen not for applause but for alignment. Chosen to live daily in the awareness of his presence, not occasionally when circumstances feel favourable. Walk forward as one upgraded. Think differently. Decide differently. Guard your peace differently. Stand firm in shaking because shaking no longer intimidates you. It confirms your stability. Live as one who bears light quietly and consistently. Your life does not need to be loud to be powerful. It needs to be aligned. And alignment produces impact that outlives emotion, outlasts seasons, and outshines temporary success. This is the sign. Receive it fully. Carry it confidently. And move forward knowing you're not who you were. You're upgraded, prepared, and positioned to build something that will echo long after this season ends. Amen.